Chapter 956, World-Shaking Might. Central Continent, Centipede Valley. A terrifying chase was happening in the narrow ravine on the mountain road. Quickly run, quickly run. A mini-man laid down on Hong Yi's head as it shouted anxiously. It hurts, it hurts. Don't pull my hair. Hong Yi screamed in pain. The mini-man did not pay attention to what he said. It subconsciously grabbed onto Hong Yi's hair and turned back to look. Damn it. It is already here. Quickly leave. If you are not fast enough, we will be eaten by it. The mini-man called out frantically. I also want to move faster. Hong Yi gritted his teeth, exerting all his effort to use his movement goo. Unfortunately, his cultivation level was too low, at only rank 2 upper staged out of course. This cultivation level was already very rare at Hong Yi's age. Ever since the refinement path convention, Hong Yi had obtained some lucky opportunities, and his cultivation speed far surpassed others. But in this current moment of danger, rank 2 upper stage cultivation level was useless against the wild rank 5 golden horned centipede chasing behind him. This centipede had a huge body. It was like a large python. It had a sharp horn on its head. When it moved on the ground, its hundreds of legs stomped. Its body twisted as it moved rapidly. We're finished. It is already right behind you. The mini-man was pale from shock. It was terror-stricken. I'll risk it. Hong Yi could also feel the golden horned centipede getting closer. The hair over his body was standing on end from fear. He had no choice but to use his only killer move. This killer move was a movement killer move. But Hong Yi had only obtained it recently. He had not practiced with it for long enough. When he used it, the success rate and failure rate was 50% each. Killer moves required at least 2 goo worms to activate. The more goo worms there were, the more complicated the steps involved, and the greater difficulty in activating it. But the power of the move also normally increased. Hong Yi's new movement killer move was formed by nearly 10 mortal GU. It was not comparable to a goo immortal, but for goo masters, this was a relatively huge number of goo. Killer moves were not so easy to practice. When the activation of the killer move fails, the goo master or the goo worms might receive damage. Thus, normally, Hong Yi was very careful every time he practiced this killer move. But at this time, his life was in critical danger. He could not care anymore. His original speed was not enough for him to break free from the golden horned centipede. He was sure to die. Right now, there was only one way left. He had to risk it. Activate. I must succeed. Hong Yi screamed in his mind. But wishes were wonderful. Reality was cruel. Activating killer moves required intense concentration. Some killer moves needed special environments and could not be disturbed. Fang Yuan could easily use his killer moves because he had a huge amount of experience in the 500 years of his previous life. But Hong Yi was a newbie at this time. He was in danger. He had to pay attention to the path in front of him as the mountain was full of rocks and pitfalls. He was running rapidly. If he fell, his life would be over. On the other hand, Hong Yi was chased by the golden horned centipede. The intense commotion behind him was ringing in his ears. He was engulfed in the aura of death. How could Hong Yi be unaffected by it? Under this situation, those who could remain calm and absolutely focused were experienced experts who had already undergone countless battles and had disregarded the fear of death. Hong Yi could reach this stage eventually, but he was too young now. It's catching up. It's catching up. The mini-man on top of his head screamed in fear as it looked at the golden horned centipede, shortening the gap between them with a fierce demeanor. The centipede was heavy and had a huge body. It had hundreds of legs and a huge mouth. Saliva splattered everywhere as it bit at Hong Yi. The mini-man screamed tragically. It shut its eyes in fear. Even though it had wings, they were broken already. It could not fly that it had succeeded in stealing the rank 5 goo material 100 flower due during this exploration into the cave. But there was a price to pay for this. It had attracted the animosity of the golden horned centipede which was guarding the dew. Thus, the mini-man could only escape with Hong Yi, trying to get away using his superior speed. However, the mini-man did not feel any pain. It opened its eyes, showing disbelief. For some reason, Hong Yi had escaped from the golden horned centipede's bite. But at the next moment, the golden horned centipede chased them again. The mini-man was scared, but it could see clearly now. The reason was, whenever the golden horned centipede tried to bite Hong Yi, it would subconsciously raise its head first. This action would cause its head to go dozens of meters above the ground. Half of its body would be elevated from the ground as well, before it landed heavily. When the centipede raised its head, many of its legs would leave the ground. Its speed would fall, but at this time, Hong Yi was still running without lowering his speed. Thus, Hong Yi could evade the golden horned centipede every time it attacked. This fool. The mini-man laughed heartily. It felt an intense joy in escaping from mortal danger. Man is the spirit of all beings. Wild goo worms had limited intelligence. Their movements were decided by instincts. I was kind enough to escape with you, but you call me a fool. Hong Yi was displeased. I am not scolding you. I am talking about this golden horned centipede, you fool. The mini-man shouted. Hong Yi was still nursing displeasure. You are the fool. I said the centipede was sleeping. You should not have been afraid and simply should have stolen the 100-flower dew and escaped. But you had to scream for no reason. The mini-man's cheeks puffed up. Guilt flashed across its eyes as it showed an embarrassed expression that it wanted to rebuke him. But at the next moment, its eyes opened wide in shock that it turned out. The golden horned centipede behind saw that it could not bite Hong Yi. It changed its attack method. Using its golden horn, of course, it had not become smarter. The reason was, during its long life, the golden horned centipede had encountered some large prey that it could not swallow. In that situation, the golden horned centipede would use its horn to slice the prey up into pieces. Opening its mouth to bite was the golden horned centipede's instinct. Using the golden horn was also an instinct. The golden horned centipede pounced harshly, lowering its head and stabbing its horn forward, soon approaching Hong Yi's, but this was unavoidable because of its size. Fool, run. The mini-man saw this dangerous situation and shuddered in fear. It could not even grab onto the hair firmly. You still are calling me a fool? Oh, Hong Yi shouted, but suddenly his pitch became higher, like a rooster who was grabbed by the neck. There was shock, unpreparedness, and intense pain in his voice. The golden horn had already stabbed into Hong Yi's buttocks. The mini-man was full of despair. It thought that this was it. But at this moment, Hong Yi's speed suddenly rose by a huge amount that he shot out like a cannonball. The reason was, when he was screaming, the intense pain gave him a moment of inspiration, and he successfully used the killer move in an instant. Hong Yi escaped as a result. Bleeding? You are bleeding. The mini-man screamed loudly to Hong Yi. It turned out that the golden horned centipede had already stabbed Hong Yi's buttocks. But because Hong Yi burst out in an instant, the two sides had been separated by a distance again. It was as if a dagger was pulled out of Hong Yi's buttocks. The wound was unstopped and started bleeding. My butt hurts. Oh, it's so painful. At this moment, Hong Yi's mind was filled with an intense thought that he subconsciously grabbed his butt, applying pressure on the wound. However, naturally, because he was feeling pain from his injury, his mind was distracted again. The killer move that he had activated earlier fell apart, and his speed dropped again. But the golden horn centipede was still chasing him. The golden horn stabbed into his other butt cheek. Ah! Hong Yi screamed again. But the same thing happened again. The powerful attack, the sudden pain. Hong Yi's focus reached another peak. He used the killer move again. He sprinted again. You're bleeding. You're bleeding. The mini-man screamed. There was no choice. The two wounds were very deep. Because of Hong Yi's intense movement, it was no wonder that blood spewed out. Hong Yi grabbed his buttocks as the golden horned centipede chased relentlessly. He was in such a helpless situation. Oh no, my primeval essence is running out. Suddenly, Hong Yi's expression paled. That Jiu Masters had little primeval essence in the first place. It was easily used up. Activating killer moves meant using many goo worms. The expenditure was great. After running for such a long time, Hong Yi reached his limits. Death was approaching. Hong Yi was forced into a desperate situation. There was no way to live. Are we going to die? Are we going to die? Lord Centipede, don't eat me. I am so small. I have little meat. Eat him. Eat that fool. The mini-man was muttering senselessly while grabbing Hong Yi's hair. This moment, Hong Yi was feeling empty inside. He did not bother to respond to this mini-man. But suddenly, sword light that shook the world flashed. In an instant, the world turned white. Everything turned silent. The sudden change did not make Hong Yi stop running. He kept running for a while before he realized something amiss. Looking back, he was shocked. The rank 5 golden horned centipede goo was no longer present. It had vanished completely. Along with it, half of Centipede Valley had vanished. What was in front of him was a huge and deep trench. The sides of the trench were extremely smooth, like a mirror. What is going on? Hong Yi was lost for words. He could not believe it. Just that sword light. The mini-man was completely stunned. Central continent, East Coast. Waves crashed, rumbling nonstop. Frost energy oozed out in the surrounding area. Youngsters, we are here. This is Profound Ice Island, the place where Flying Frost Sect is located. This will be where you live from now on, the place where you change your destiny. The leading Goo Master pointed at the ice island and proudly introduced this. The youngsters raised their heads, looking forward. Some had shining eyes, some were extremely excited. Even though Flying Frost Sect did not have any Goo Immortals and was not a super force, within a huge surrounding area, it was the supreme overlord. The only force that could contest it was 5 Virtues Sect. Not long ago, when the Central Continent Refinement Path Convention was held, Flying Frost Sect was one of the venues for participation. Because of this, the reputation of Flying Frost Sect had spread widely. This time, the children here have the highest aptitude for the last 10 years. They are the future of the sect. Nurture them well, they will make us stronger. The leading Goo Master saw these children and felt very excited. The leading Goo Master said loudly, "Youngsters, it is your fortune to be able to become Flying Frost Sect's disciples. Now, let me tell you," swoosh. At this time, sword light flashed. Everyone was blinded momentarily. They all shut their eyes. When they opened their eyes, everyone was stunned. They opened their mouths and were still like statues with exaggerated expressions. The huge, profound ice island was gone. In its place, there was a deep trench that appeared in their vision. Even the sea water was split apart. On the surface of the sea, a path of 5 to 6 li in length had been completely emptied of water. The lingering sword path down marks were extremely overbearing, blocking the water path down marks and preventing the water from filling up the GAP.AT once. A weird but domineering scene was formed. Heavenly Court. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord held his walking stick as he stood below Heaven Overseeing Tower shakily. His other hand was holding fake goo. His old wrinkled hand was gently rubbing fake goo. This time, fake goo was successfully repaired to a great extent. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was extremely excited and happy. The ones who had repaired it with him, Bai Tsang Shui, Lian Jiushang, and Bai Chun Tian had already left Heavenly Court, going to the mortal world. The Goo Immortals in Heavenly Court mostly used sleeping as their lifespan extension method. After waking up, they had to make good use of their time, going to their sects and settling some private matters, or to take care of their blood-related descendants in the sect. Heavenly Court controlled the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent. But at the same time, Heavenly Court's Goo Immortals were also chosen from the 10 great ancient sects to eye in the structure of sects. Heavenly Court was like the upper-level sect, and the 10 great ancient sects were the lower-level sections, not all Goo. Immortals had the chance to join Heavenly Court. Other than having deep attainment in their paths, great battle strength, and reaching rank 8 cultivation level, there was also additional important criteria to join Heavenly Court. That was their values. Heavenly Court. What was Heavenly Court? Star constellation Immortal Venerable had described it 3 million years ago. It was following the will of heaven and upholding justice for heaven. After this restoration, Fate Goo can use half of its might. Using Heaven Overseeing Tower, we can find more people who escaped from fate. Eliminating these people will help in repairing Fate Goo. This can allow more people to be found and result in a beneficial cycle. As long as this progresses, Heaven Overseeing Tower will regain its former glory. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was filled with anticipation. He was about to step into Heaven Overseeing Tower again. Rumble. A sword light shot over like a flash of lightning. In no time, it sliced through Heaven Overseeing Tower. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's mouth was opened wide. His pupils shrunk to pin size. His body was extremely stiff. He saw that the upper half of Heaven Overseeing Tower slowly tilted and crashed onto the jade floor. Heaven Overseeing Tower. After being stunned momentarily, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord screamed loudly. Chapter 957, Rising Commotion. It finally stopped. Fairy Baiqing looked at the tranquil river surface, her face pale with lingering fear. When the sword lights rampaged, she was nearest to the source and had personally witnessed this heaven-shaking scene. Right now, falling heavenly river was filled with corpses, large quantities of mutilated body parts of ancient desolate beasts and immemorial desolate beasts bobbed up and down in the river. The surging white heavenly river water was now dyed blood red. Although falling heavenly river came from the heavens, the river water was filled with vitality. Countless ferocious beasts lived within and propagated. Large numbers of aquatic plants grew within, and there were also countless hidden currents, whirlpools, and other natural traps which even a Gu immortal could die from. Fairy Baiqing waited for some moments. No more sword lights appeared. She ran to the river and picked up the corpses of the beasts and the branches and roots of ancient desolate plants and immemorial desolate plants. She had truly earned a fortune. The fortune was so huge even. She could not help being joyous. But the happiness did not last long. Many ancient desolate beasts began to show up. Fairy Baiqing could even vaguely see some faint images of ancient desolate beasts through the river water. These beasts' ferocity was stimulated by the bloodied water. The flesh and bones cut apart by the sword light were excellent delicacies to these beasts. More and more beasts were attracted over by the blood and flesh, leading to a fierce battle. They tore at each other as they battled for food, raising frightening waves. Fairy Baiqing had no choice but to retreat. Over half the original quantity of corpses remained. She looked at them with much regret. These were all excellent Gu refinement materials. The sword lights shot out so suddenly. What happened in falling heavenly river? Should I enter to explore and find the reasons or not? Fairy Baiqing was held back by the thought of Feng Huang. Thus she hesitated. However, she had a feeling that Baiqing's clues should be in the riverbed of falling heavenly river. Fairy Baiqing gritted her teeth, turning into a white light, shooting straight into falling heavenly river. From falling heavenly river's source, unrivaled sword lights had shot out everywhere, their range covering the whole of Central Continent. Whether it was the Centipede Valley in Central Continent's central region, or Flying Frost sect in the east, or even Heavenly Court which was high above, they were all affected by the sword lights. The whole of Central Continent was in a commotion. Heavenly Court, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's face was ashen. His hand moved without stopping. He had immediately started restoring Heaven Overseeing Tower when he had gotten out of his shocked state. He had already sent a message to Bai Qintian, Bai Cang Shui, and Lian Jiusheng, urgently recalling them. Right now, they were already on their way. The damage created by the sword light was extremely troublesome. Its sword path down marks seemed to contain a corrosive nature. The remaining parts of Heaven Overseeing Tower might be standing upright, but it would not last for long. That if the sword path down marks were left to continue corroding, it would definitely lead to even more disastrous damage. We succeeded in our last attempt at restoring Fate Immortal Gu, but when I was just about to use it, Heaven Overseeing Tower was split apart. Is this a coincidence? Or, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord had a bad premonition. After a while, Bai Qintian was the first to return, then Bai Cang Shui, and finally Lian Jiusheng arrived. Lian Jiusheng had stopped partway through, but was thus able to bring concrete information. I have investigated it. The sword light came from the source of falling heavenly river. Right now, the whole of Central Continent is in a ruckus. Falling heavenly river's source, isn't that where Baiqing died? Bai Cang Shui exclaimed in shock. Speaking of Baiqing, Heavenly Court's four immortals had complicated feelings on him. Back then, it was not that they did not try to recruit Baiqing, but unfortunately, Baiqing's ideals did not conform to theirs, and he did not join Heavenly Court. Baiqing, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's gaze was dark. Investigate. We must investigate this clearly. Fairy Cang Shui, you are specialized in water path. I will have to trouble you to make a trip. The three of us will stay here to restore Heaven Overseeing Tower. For some reason, I am having a very bad feeling about this. The other three immortals' expressions turned serious. Bai Qintian spoke. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, you are in charge of Heaven Overseeing Tower and Fate Gu. If you are uneasy, we cannot disregard it. We need to move quickly. Central Continent, Combat Immortal Sect. Falling Heavenly River's source has changed all of a sudden. I suspect Bo Qing's sword path inheritance has appeared. Jin Lai Yang, you will go to investigate the truth. You can bring 2 rank 6 Gu immortals. Choose whoever you want. Combat Immortal Sects First Supreme Elders will floated in mid-air that Gu Immortal Jin Lai Yang was sitting within fire. He was tall and well-built, with golden hair and fiery eyes, and a vigorous rank 7 aura. Hearing what was said, he instead snorted, not giving any face to the First Supreme Elder. You should go find Shirley for this matter. He is the immortal Monkey King. With Feng Yuan no longer alive, he is now the strongest among Central Continent's rank 7 Gu immortals. First Supreme Elders will smiled. Jin Lai Yang, Shirley might be strong, but he is not the only person in combat immortal sect. He has already made more than enough contributions in the exploration of Starry Sky Grotto Heaven. Could it be that you want him to make more contributions? An idea came to Jin Lai Yang, and he suddenly became convinced. He leaped out of the fire and cupped his fists. First Supreme Elder is correct. I had thought of growing another 17 or 18 fire path down marks, but since that is the case, I will immediately move out. First Supreme Elders will nodded, instructing, go and return quickly. Wind Cloud Manor. First Senior Brother, you came out of seclusion? Gu Immortal Hong Chi Ming immediately greeted the person in front of him with great joy. This person was clothed in a white robe and was wearing a jade belt. He was tall and thin. Elegance and harmoniousness seemed to be expressed in him. He smiled and nodded. I came out because of the change in Falling Heavenly River. Junior Brother, you participated in the 100 Days battle and personally witnessed Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword. I have been asked to go investigate the truth of Falling Heavenly River. Please lend me a hand. Hong Chi Ming took a deep breath and said sincerely, First Senior Brother, you are treating me like an outsider. Back then, were it not for your help, I would not be around today. I will offer my full efforts. Spirit Affinity House, Discussion Hall. Should we send someone to investigate the strange change in Falling Heavenly River's source? First Supreme Elder was not present, so the discussion hall was managed by Second Supreme Elder. Second Supreme Elder, you may not be aware, but Fairy Bai Qing has already gone to explore Falling Heavenly River's source a few days ago. Li Junying's will spoke. Oh? Did she discover some clues? A Gu Immortal unavoidably recalled the matters discussed. Second Supreme Elder frowned. Fairy Bai Qing only has peak rank 6 cultivation. It is not enough to cope with this situation. But the sect is limited on available personnel right now. Who should I send to reinforce Bai Qing at this time? Su Haoswell laughed. Reporting to Second Supreme Elder, Fairy Bai Qing has actually already advanced to rank 7. It is just that she concealed it and did not report it. Oh, is that the case? I remember there was still some time before the tribulation for her advancement to rank 7. Su Hao calmly replied, this matter has been confirmed. Before Feng Yuan left for Northern Plains, he borrowed Time Path Immortal Gu to secretly help Fairy Bai Qing advance her cultivation. So it was like that. Second Supreme Elder mumbled before saying, Fairy Bai Qing advancing to rank 7 is a blessing for our Spirit Affinity House. When she returns, she shall be rewarded heavily. Also, open the storage and let her choose a rank 7 Immortal Gu. As for this matter of Falling Heavenly River, there is no need to send reinforcements anymore. Just message her regarding the sect's intentions. Yes, we will follow Second Supreme Elder's command. Tian Ti Mountain. This sword light. Bo Qing, the pseudo-immortal venerable who split the 5 regions with his sword. It was fortunate for the people in the world that love changed him. Maybe this is the appearance of his sword path true inheritance. Sword Path Gu Immortal Jian Yisheng gazed into the horizon with excitement and yearning. Such a huge change. Falling Heavenly River will definitely be a gathering point for Gu Immortals. Maybe there will be an opportunity to fish for profits in this commotion. Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects are strong and can eat the meat, but I should be able to drink some soup, right? As he thought of this, Jian Yisheng hardened his mind and flew out of Tian Ti Mountain towards the northwest. Whether it was the righteous path led by the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, or the demonic path or lone cultivators like Jian Yisheng, they all started making their moves. Countless gazes pierced through space and gathered at the source of Falling Heavenly River. Bo Qing, a pseudo-immortal venerable. At the pinnacle below the venerables, this reputation that had been covered in dust resurfaced once again. The countless sword lights that wreaked havoc throughout the whole of Central Continent reminded the world of Bo Qing's power that a rumor, who knows from where, started spreading and kept on getting bigger, affecting everyone's mental states. The sword lights are the arrangements left behind by Bo Qing before he perished. He is reminding the world that his sword path true inheritance has appeared, and although he perished, he did not want his true inheritance to be obtained by the wrong person. He is using this chance to select the most suitable inheritor. Thereafter, the shock created from the sword light's might gradually turned into greed and desire. Central Continent's Gu immortal world was in a commotion. Countless Gu immortals, even the hidden old monsters, started to move towards Falling Heavenly River. That a commotion occurred in Central Continent. A huge dispute that covered the whole of Central Continent was going to unfold at Falling Heavenly River. But in Southern Border, it was calm and tranquil. The trees swayed in the lush green hills. On a mountain peak, in a stone pavilion, Old Man Yanshi was sitting inside the pavilion, playing chess. A giant rock was in front of him. On the smooth surface of the rock were star path Dao marks that formed either horizontal cuts, vertical cuts, or diagonal cuts, forming a dazzling diagram. Below Old Man Yanshi was actually the famous astrolabe chessboard from history. A figure descended down from the sky, and the stone pavilion instantly filled with cold air. "Why did you call me?" Bai Ningbing coldly stared at the back of Old Man Yanshi. Old Man Yanshi slowly turned around and faced Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing continued to speak in an icy tone. "Although you helped me in becoming a Gu immortal, I am not a subordinate of yours who is at your beck and call." Old Man Yanshi smiled, speaking softly. "Do you know that Fang Yuan will be returning?" Fang Yuan. Bai Ningbing's gaze turned bright. He then squinted, hiding the sharp light in his eyes. With a cold snort, he said, "Explain it clearly." Chapter 958, Pawn Bai Ningbing. Looking at Old Man Yanshi, Bai Ningbing was very vigilant. Ever since he had advanced to Gu immortal, while in the process conveniently getting rid of his female body which had been troubling him for a long time, he thoroughly realized how unfathomable Old Man Yanshi was. Bai Ningbing's nature was to be indifferent. But his firm attitude towards Old Man Yanshi was only a type of probe. Even his strong desire of wanting to fight Fang Yuan and take vicious revenge was also a disguise for himself, as well as a probe towards Old Man Yanshi. Although only a few years had passed, Bai Ningbing was no longer so concerned about Fang Yuan. Being at the Gu immortal level had broadened his horizons. He saw many more things and experienced many more wonders. What he minded was Old Man Yanshi in front of him. It was not that he had not secretly investigated, but Shadow Sect was still deeply concealed, not revealing a trace. He did not know why Old Man Yanshi was helping him, but at the same time, he was also discontent at being controlled like this. He had thought of walking away from all of this. But Shadow Sect had spent so much effort on him, they certainly would not let him leave easily. In addition, Bai Ningbing cared about excitement and brilliance more than his own life. When the enemy was stronger, the process was dangerous. Resistance became more difficult. It instead made him feel like he had not lived in vain, taking it as a pleasure of life. Competing against heaven, competing against earth, competing against humans, the joy was endless. There was one thing that Bai Ningbing had never done in his life. That was retreating in the face of danger, facing Bai Ningbing's query. Old Man Yanshi leisurely took out an immortal Gu and said, "You only need to do as I say, and I can guarantee Fang Yuan will return to Southern Border." Bai Ningbing's eyes shined with coldness. "You seem to know Fang Yuan's whereabouts clearly. But in the past, when I was advancing to Gu immortal, and I asked you the same question, you said you did not know." Old Man Yanshi chuckled. He did not respond to Bai Ningbing's query, instead continuing. "To the south of Name Peak, east of Liqiu, not far away from Rock Dragon Cave, there is a nameless mountain peak. The mountain is tall, and there is a long river that passes by it. The trees on the mountain are green and lush. It is a lone mountain with no other branch peaks. Go to the top of that mountain and activate this Gu. Once you succeed, leave quickly. This mountain will become a forbidden zone for immortals. Any Gu immortals that enter this area will be met with fatal killing intent." Bai Ningbing did not accept this immortal goo, his eyes still staring at old man Yanshi as he coldly said, "You still haven't answered my question. I don't need to answer your question. You only need to know that when this is done, Fang Yuan will return. Back then, you signed an agreement with Shadow Sect. Wasn't the agreement that only after Fang Yuan is dead, you can be free from the agreement and regain your freedom?" Old man Yanshi smiled faintly. Bai Ningbing was silent for a while, before taking the immortal goo that he then gave a cold snort and flew away. Disappearing into the horizon, he made haste when traveling. 2 days later, he found the mountain old man Yanshi spoke of. This mountain is ordinary and there is nothing strange. Why did he choose this place? Bai Ningbing was puzzled. Actually, he had many guesses, even thinking of the possibility that old man Yanshi was trying to harm him. But he has spent a huge price to raise me to go immortal. Why would he kill me now? The chance of this is very low. Bai Ningbing shook his head. There was another uncertainty which he had for a long time. Why did old man Yanshi help me to become a goo immortal? Among so many people, why did he choose me? Is it simply because of my northern dark ice soul physique? Previously, Bai Ningbing had such thoughts, but now he was increasingly feeling the truth was not as simple as that. Bai Ningbing started to carefully investigate this nameless mountain peak, but he did not find any traces of goo formations. He was filled with doubts and hesitation. If this was truly a trap, then he would be stupidly sending himself to death. Wouldn't he be humiliating himself? Bai Ningbing suddenly had a thought. Old man Yanshi would not make me come here in particular and activate immortal goo for no reason. His motive is veiled in mystery, but there is no time limit. I might as well delay and probe him. If the matter was urgent, old man Yanshi would be very anxious and naturally would urge him. At that time, with the immortal goo, Bai Ningbing could obtain the initiative. Bai Ningbing bided his time and made no move. Sure enough, someone on Shadow Sect's side became anxious. The black-robed goo immortal appeared inside the stone pavilion and spoke with a rough voice. "Yanshi, Bai Ningbing has already gone for close to half a month, but there has been no word or action from him. Could it be that he ran away with the goo? Or maybe encountered a problem?" Old man Yanshi was at ease, looking at the astrolabe chessboard. The astrolabe chessboard in front of him was filled with Dao marks, but compared to before, when Bai Ningbing had appeared, the numerous and disorderly lines had already reduced by a little less than half. Old man Yanshi was pinching his fingers as he tried to deduce the chess moves, while saying to the black-robed goo immortal, "Bai Ningbing is still there, just not making a move." He already had doubts that this trip is harmful to him, so it is normal for him to have this reaction. The black-robed goo immortal could not help but speak urgently when he saw the leisurely attitude of old man Yanshi. "But we can no longer delay the matter in Central Continent. Now, not just the goo immortals from the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, but even a lot of lone cultivators and demonic cultivators have entered to explore the riverbed of Falling Heavenly River. Vice Envoy Blue and the others can only hold on for 3 days at most. After 3 days, Heavenly Court will realize this is an arrangement, and it might disrupt our true plan." Old man Yanshi nodded, agreeing. "What you say makes sense. In fact, the present state has already diverged from the original plan. The progress is really too slow. How about you send a letter to urge Bai Ningbing to make a move quickly? If he doesn't submit, we can take away his immortal level and make him fall down back to immortal. He became a goo immortal with our help, but he is only a false immortal. There is no need for us to continue letting him be so arrogant. We can take action first and remove his goo immortal strength, making him immortal again, restoring his female body. Such a junior with his head high above the clouds. If we don't make him know his place, we won't be able to use him." The black-robed goo immortal suggested. Why do you think I am using him?" Old man Yanshi chuckled. He lightly flicked his wide sleeve. Immediately, a star mark was removed from the astrolabe chessboard. If Fang Yuan was to see this sight, he would definitely be very shocked. Doing this with such ease, old man Yanshi's wisdom path attainment level was definitely great grandmaster. The black-robed goo immortal was wearing a large hood that covered his expression, but his tone was filled with heavy doubts. "Yanshi, didn't you choose Bai Ningbing because you saw his 10 extreme physique battle strength?" No, that is not the case." Old man Yanshi laughed. This is only what makes him special on the surface. His true special characteristic is that he is also someone who has escaped fate. What? He is also one. The black-robed Gu immortal was shocked. Old man Yanshi explained further. Our crucial plan has been devised for 100,000 years. Our true enemy is not the central continent's heavenly court or the other four regions, but heaven. So I am handing this final crucial step to Bai Ningbing. He is an escapee of fate. From a certain perspective, he could be said to have escaped the grasp of heaven's will as well. Only this kind of person is qualified to become our pawn. So it was like that. The black-robed Gu immortal came to a realization and had no more doubts. Old man, Yanshi continued. Bai Ningbing is a fate escapee. Heaven's will is unable to control him completely, making him a potent weapon for us. We will first let him spearhead the attack, and what we will do is build up our energy, using all of our strength to cope with the fury of heaven's will. After Bai Ningbing left, I did not contact him and let him move freely, but you can rest assured, with his nature, he will not wait for much longer. Since that is the case, then I will continue sleeping. The black-robed Gu immortal cupped his fists and took his leave. Bai Ningbing waited another 2 days on the nameless mountain peak, occasionally looking at the direction of old man Yanshi's stone pavilion. So many days have passed by, but old man Yanshi has not urged me yet. It seems he is not in a hurry about this matter. That makes sense. If he was hurried, he would emphasize the time limit for completing the task when he handed it to me. Bai Ningbing could not help but feel somewhat dejected. The probing just now was undoubtedly a failure. He looked at the mountain below him and pondered. I have checked this mountain time and time again over these last days, but I could not find traces of any Gu formations. Sigh. If this is as truly harmful to me, I can only admit defeat. I could not find out anything. I can only blame my inadequate ability. Bai Ningbing sighed and hovered in the air, looking at this ordinary mountain. Go. With a shift of his mind, his immortal essence started to be consumed as he activated the mysterious immortal Gu. The immortal Gu let out some radiance, but it still lay on his palm, showing no movement. Bai Ningbing was slightly surprised. So this immortal Gu requires a lot of immortal essence. He continued to send beads of green grape immortal essence to it. The radiance of the immortal Gu grew brighter and brighter, and the exquisite body of the immortal Gu started to slightly tremble. After a while, Bai Ningbing's forehead was dripping with sweat, and he was feeling worried. I have already used up hundreds of beads of immortal essence. Why does it still not activating? So the difficulty in this task was in this. Just when he was getting very puzzled, the immortal Gu in his hand suddenly buzzed. It turned into a ray of light that shot towards the sky. The light continued to grow bigger. Its speed, however, was becoming slower. When it reached a peak in height, it charged down to the nameless mountain. Boom! It crashed onto the mountain peak. The clash produced incomparably dazzling radiance. Bai Ningbing quickly covered his eyes and retreated. He no longer needed to use his immortal essence. But whether the immortal Gu succeeded in its activation, he still needed to check to be certain. Thus, he flew to a distance of 5 li away. Before stopping in the air, he then saw an unbelievable and marvelous scene. Within the intense radiance, the nameless mountain peak suffered no damage. Phantom images started to appear over the woods on the mountain. This was a section of a long river. The river water billowed, rising and falling, filled with a mystical and natural wondrousness that would be difficult to portray. There was endless profundity that could not be described with words or expressed. This scene, could it be the river of time? Bai Ningbing's eyes suddenly enlarged, filled with extreme surprise. Afterwards, he saw the river of time's phantom image gradually dissipate, becoming dimmer and dimmer. 2 human-shaped figures seemed to jump out of the river, their appearances and clothes gradually becoming clearer. These 2 people were fighting. Both sides exchanged moves one after the other. The battle's intensity shocked Bai Ningbing to the core. Among them, one was enormous with bulging muscles. He was like a mythical creature that rampaged around with an extremely fierce momentum. He was a rank 8 Gu immortal. The other person was rank 7. But he seemed to be using a killer move to disguise himself. His whole body was covered in a layer of fog that made others unable to distinguish his face or stature. The only thing that could be clearly seen was a red lotus that was drawn on his forehead. Chapter 959, Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. The battle between the two shook the scenery in the image. Boulders shattered and the river roared. Even if the change in the phantom image did not affect reality, it was an extremely moving scene. The battle gradually heated to the climax. The burly rank 8 Gu immortal held the upper hand. He raised his head and laughed wildly. I have rank 8 cultivation and also possess the great strength true martial physique. A mere rank 7 dreams of challenging me? That mysterious Gu immortal with a red lotus mark on his forehead chuckled and said with a plain voice, Martial duel heavenly king, your defeat is certain. Take this move. Right after he finished speaking, the rank 7 Gu immortal flung his right hand, and a high platform flew out. The next moment, the contempt on the face of the rank 8 Gu immortal, Martial duel heavenly king, was completely gone, replaced by shock. This is an immortal Gu house. What immortal Gu house is this? The rank 7 Gu immortal proudly smiled. Let me teach you. This is my original creation, Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. Bai Ningbing frowned. As far as he knew, the present southern border Gu immortal world did not have any such immortal Gu house. Graceful Chaotic Duel Stages might was extremely mysterious, and no matter what kind of attacks Martial Duel Heavenly King sent, they were all absorbed and sealed. That was not all. After the attacks were sealed, they could still be used by the rank 7 Gu immortal to strike back. Martial Duel Heavenly King's attacks were mighty, but in the end, he had to bear most of his attacks himself. The images transformed continuously, and the battle situation kept on getting more heated. Finally, with the help of Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage, the mysterious rank 7 Gu immortal won against Martial Duel Heavenly King, accomplishing an extraordinary feat of rank 7 defeating rank 8. However, the rank 7 Gu immortal also had to pay a heavy price at a final stand. Martial Duel Heavenly King did not hesitate to turn into a rank 8 immortal zombie, almost possessing an unkillable body. The mysterious rank 7 Gu immortal was not able to take his life, and could only let go of this Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage, using it to suppress Martial Duel Heavenly King deep under the earth. He win against Martial Duel Heavenly King. The unknown rank 7 Gu immortal had to give up an immortal Gu house. After the battle was over, he sighed as he gazed down at his immortal Gu house that was under the earth. Before flying away, there were no more images of the Gu immortals, but the phantom image still kept on transforming. The battlefield where the Gu immortals fought returned to tranquility. With good weather, grass and trees started to grow. Then there were lightning strikes and flood. Meteors crashed down and inferno raged. The plain terrain gradually began to rise, growing slowly. At first, it was a mound. Then it continued to increase until it became a mountain. There were occasionally scenes of humans moving in the mountain. The movements were extremely quick. Whether it was natural phenomenon or the movements of humans and beasts, they were shown like a sped-up video. This mountain also began to change rapidly. It occasionally had landslides and occasionally changed in shape. Finally, in the phantom image, this mountain gradually turned into the appearance of the nameless mountain. When the phantom image had completely disappeared, the world regained its original appearance. Bai Ningbing's eyes shone strangely. He understood that the immortal Gu old man Yanshi gave him was a time path investigative immortal Gu. It drilled into the crevices of time and transported the scene of the past at a certain segment of the river of time towards the present. The scene of a huge battle between the two Gu immortals was now this ordinary and inconspicuous mountain. This means there is an immortal Gu house buried here. Bai Ningbing fixed his gaze under the mountain, his heart thumping in excitement. He naturally knew the value of an immortal Gu house. Only forces with Gu immortals could be considered super forces. But even among these super forces, only the powerful ones could possess one or more immortal Gu houses. If I can get hold of this Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage, it will definitely be a huge help to me, and I can more easily deal with Shadow Sect and leave. But this is bad. The immortal Gu's aura has leaked everywhere. The disturbance when I activated the immortal Gu was also not small. It will definitely attract other Gu immortals. Time does not wait for anyone. I must hurry up. Bai Ningbing had just thought of flying down. piercing deep into the earth and taking the immortal goo house. When he hesitated, he thought of Old Man Yanshi. If he went down, would it be messing up Old Man Yanshi's plan? Maybe Old Man Yanshi already calculated his reaction and wanted him to go deep into the earth, explore the depths of the earth, and take graceful chaotic dual stage. If it is like this, he must have something up his sleeve. The mantis stalks a cicada, unaware of the oriole. Behind, if I blindly move, all my efforts will be in vain and I will be used by others. Bai Ningbing's gaze was deep. He decided to first probe the surrounding environment before deciding to move. However, what he had not expected was when he had just approached the nameless mountain by some distance, he felt an intense weakness. His goo immortal aura started to quickly weaken. He could not even exert his thoughts. Bai Ningbing retreated in shock. He recalled Old Man Yanshi's words. Go to the top of that mountain and activate this goo. Once you succeed, leave quickly. This mountain will become a forbidden zone for immortals. Any goo immortals that enter this area will be met with fatal killing intent. Bai Ningbing thought with a frown. Could this be the forbidden zone for immortals? If this had truly become a forbidden zone, then how could he seize graceful chaotic dual stage? At this moment, the phantom image on the mountain peak changed again, turning into the previous scenes. Bai Ningbing patiently observed, and could not help having a thought. Could it be that there was a clue to take the immortal goo house hidden in the transformations of these phantom images? However, after the phantom image finished showing the scenes, it disappeared again. Bai Ningbing was not able to find out any clues that he then discovered. The phantom image would reappear once in a while. Every time the phantom image played, it would show the same contents with no difference. He also discovered the forbidden zone was expanding. At first, he could still approach within 3 li of the nameless mountain. Now, however, he was 10 li away from the mountain peak, but still felt exhausted and weak. He had a sense of warning deep within telling him that were he to forcefully charge in, he would definitely die. Looking at the huge fortune moving farther and farther away from him, Bai Ningbing was naturally uneasy. He had stayed here for 3 days, trying to hide this constantly appearing phantom image. He had already erased the immortal goo aura, but he was not able to hide these images. Although Old Man Yanshi helped him ascend to immortal, he did not give him any immortal goo. This phenomenon in front of him was created by a time path investigative immortal goo. Bai Ningbing naturally could not cover it using mortal goo. Of course, if he used superior mortal killer moves, there was a possibility of covering the images temporarily. But his foundation was shallow, and he did not have such methods. If Fang Yuan was here, what would he do? In the worrisome moment, Bai Ningbing recalled Fang Yuan's image. Despite him no longer being concerned with Fang Yuan, he could not deny that Fang Yuan's ruthlessness and craftiness had made a deep impression and subconsciously influenced him. He thought and thought, before he stopped in terror that he suddenly realized. This immortal goo was given by Old Man Yanshi. This should be a plan of Shadow Sect. What was Shadow Sect trying to do? They did not try to seize graceful chaotic dual stage secretly and silently earn a fortune. Instead, they were proclaiming this as if they wanted the whole world to know. Involving an ancient battle and the immortal goo house graceful chaotic dual stage, probably the whole of southern border will be in an uproar. Be it righteous path goo immortals or demonic path or lone immortals, they will all go crazy for it. None of them would yield a step for the immortal goo house. This will definitely cause great turbulence and incite bloodshed. Is Shadow Sect's objective to bring a calamity to southern border? But how would this benefit them? Bai Ningbing fiercely slapped his forehead. As his anxious expression vanished, clarity returned to his gaze. What was I doing these last days? I actually let myself be blinded by greed. This is not something I can obtain. This nameless mountain will soon become the center of a storm in southern border, luring almost all the goo immortals of southern border. I am only a rank 6 goo immortal with limited methods. I can't stay here for long. I better leave early. Right? I should return and try to probe Old Man Yanshi on what he is thinking of doing. Does he want to use this to lure Fang Yuan? Bai Ningbing hurriedly returned, but Old Man Yanshi was no longer in the stone pavilion. He hurried to Shadow Sect's blessed land, but he was unable to summon the blessed land's entrance to appear. He also could not contact them using information path mortal goo. It was almost like the entirety of Shadow Sect including old man Yin Shi, had completely disappeared in an instant. The wave of doubts in Bai Ningbing's mind intensified. There was a sensation of being discarded. He vaguely felt that. The last series of events was anything but a reassuring omen. Central continent, falling heavenly river. Right now, the bottom of the riverbed of the source of falling heavenly river was filled with light. Countless Gu immortals of central continent fixed their gazes at the riverbed's only light source. Their hearts filled with fervent desire. An immortal zombie with eyes closed was floating in this light. His appearance was just like before when he was alive, seemingly filled with vitality. Sharp brows, high nose, jade green hair, upright back. It was Bo Qing. Who could have thought Bo Qing would have turned into an immortal zombie? Back then, the fairy of Spirit Affinity House at that time, Mo Yao, had also faced the tribulation with him. But there is only Bo Qing here. It seems Mo Yao had completely died. According to the sect records, that heavenly tribulation had such terrifying might that it shook the whole of central continent. It really is inconceivable that Bo Qing could preserve his life. How strong was he actually? The immortals discussed with each other. The corpse has been maintained for so long. Who knows how many secrets it contains? As long as we can obtain it, we can decipher the profound mysteries of Bo Qing's cultivation back then. Even if there is no sword path true inheritance, just this research alone would be an enormous gain. Maybe it can even add to a true inheritance in the sect. Most of these thoughts were from the Gu immortals of the 10 great ancient sections. They were looking at long-term prospects, considering for the situation of their sect, while the lone immortals and demonic cultivators like Jin Yisheng were paying attention to the immortal Gu carried by the immortal zombie Bo Qing. There are still auras of so many immortal Gu on his body. This is really unimaginable for them to exist until now. These are all sword path immortal Gu of the pseudo-immortal venerable. I will be satisfied with even just one. Central Continent's righteous path was very prosperous, and the demonic cultivators were fiercely suppressed, to the extent that their situation was the most miserable among the demonic cultivators in the entirety of the 5 regions. These demonic cultivators and lone cultivators did not dare to have any idea of taking Bo Qing's immortal zombie body, and only wanted to make a profit and run away quickly. In fact, before this, in the process of entering Falling Heavenly River, almost all the immortals had made some gains. The remains of beasts and plants cut down by the sword lights were not few. As long as one looked for them carefully, they could find them. However, Bo Qing's assets was truly too attractive. Humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Since they personally witnessing it, who would want to leave now? Chapter 960, Bo Qing Awakens. At this time, there were at least 30 Gu immortals at the bottom of Falling Heavenly River's source. The immortals had heated gazes. They were staring at the light lump that enveloped the immortal zombie, Bo Qing. They looked around secretly. They were very alert towards their competitors. Among these competitors, the strongest ones were the Gu immortals from Central Continent's 10 great ancient sections: Jin Liang, Hong Qi Ming, Qi Yun Tian, and others. And among the people from the 10 great ancient sects, the most threatening one was Fairy Bai Qing. Seeing this stalemate, Qi Yun Tian said slowly, "Fairy Bai Qing, this situation is very clear. Bo Qing has his immortal zombie remains, but his soul was decimated by the tribulation. However, there are some wills and emotions left in his mind. He can defend himself. Thus, whenever we get close, he will use his immortal Gu and shoot out extremely sharp sword lights, attacking everywhere. To weaken his animosity, we need something that contains Bo Qing's aura, or a Gu worm that he refined in the past. We can also use the wills and emotions left behind by Bo Qing. As long as we take these out, we can get close to Bo Qing and gain the upper hand." Fairy Bai Qing smiled bitterly. "Why would I have these things? If I did, I would have taken action long ago, right?" She indeed did not, because she had not expected to find Bo Qing's immortal zombie-bodied. Qi Yun Tian smiled lightly. "Fairy Bai Qing, why are you lying to us? You are the first person here. Why did you come here alone secretly? Is all this a coincidence?" Fairy Bai Qing's smile became more bitter. "You say I came here secretly. That is wrong. I had used the path through Myriad Dragon Dock and Combat Immortal Sect. I came here openly. What do you mean by secretly?" She had come to investigate falling heavenly river because of Feng Yuan's last words. But she could not expose this truth. Spirit Affinity House needed to stall the information regarding Feng Yuan's death as much as possible, so that they could have more time to prepare. Jin Liang frowned more deeply now. His voice became more shrill. Why is Fairy by Qing hiding it from us? The current situation will only draw in more Gu immortals. As time passes, accidents might occur. We of the 10 great ancient sects should work together to jointly control situation in Central Continent. Otherwise, if those lone cultivators obtain Sword Immortal Bo Qing's Sword Path Immortal Gu, Central Continent would undergo huge turbulence. Is your sect going to ignore Central Continent's well-being just for your own greed? Qi Yuntian's attitude was warm. He continued, urging, we of the 10 great ancient sects are of the same origin. We should work together and obtain Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. I can represent Wind Cloud Manor and sign an alliance agreement with your sect. We will ensure you get your benefits in this matter. Fairy Bai Qing was silent. She sneered internally. Jin Liang and Qi Yuntian were working together to coerce and coax her. How could she not know that? She was secretly anxious. This had happened too suddenly, and Spirit Affinity House did not send Gu Immortals to reinforce her. Even though she was rank 7, facing these immortals, she could not do much no matter what Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's situation was. It was very important to take back his body and sword path Immortal Gu for Spirit Affinity House. The other 9 sects knew this. Right now, in their opinion, Feng Yuan was missing. He was likely dead. Spirit Affinity House was weakened now. They could not let them obtain this Immortal Zombie Bo Qing, that if they nurtured another Bo Qing who was as strong as Feng Yuan, what would the 9 sects do? The situation in Falling Heavenly River was extremely dangerous. Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's sword lights were extremely sharp. They shot through the entirety of Central Continent. Large numbers of demonic and lone cultivators came because of it. They desired conflict. They wanted to obtain huge gains from ITAS for the immortals from Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects. They want to stabilize the situation and not give these outsiders a chance. But at the same time, the immortals of the 10 great ancient sects were not united. Thus, the 9 sects were resisting Spirit Affinity House together. Fairy Bai Qing was thought to have possession of a crucial method. She could not explain her innocence now. Just as the immortals were in a deadlock, a vast rank 8 aura surged. All of the immortals stand back. We of Heavenly Court are taking charge. Everyone gasped. They looked at the source of the sound and saw a female immortal descending. It was the rank 8 water path Gu immortal by Tsang Shui. The situation changed at once. Central Continent, Heavenly Court. Light shone on Heaven Overseeing Tower. It had been rebuilt again, standing in front of the 3 immortals. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, Bai Chen Tian, and Lian Jiusheng felt the weight on their hearts easing. They sighed in relief. Ever since Heaven Overseeing Tower was slashed by the sword light, they had not rested to prevent the sword path down marks from corroding it further and destroying more Gu worms. They had worked day and night to repair it without rest. They had finally succeeded. Thankfully, the 3 immortals rapidly replaced the destroyed Gu worms using the huge amount of immortal materials in Heavenly Court's storage, saving it in time. There was something important to note. Heaven Overseeing Tower was a rank 9 immortal Gu house. It had incredible defense. Even though it was split in half by the sword light, what it truly lost was only the Gu worms near the damage caused by the sword. In fact, Heaven Overseeing Tower was not gravely damaged. After looking at it for a while, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord took a deep breath and supported himself on his walking stick as he held fake Gu, walking towards the tower. Lian Jiusheng could not help but ask, Tower Lord, are you not going to rest? Why are you in a rush to activate Heaven Overseeing Tower? Thank you for your concern. It is all right. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord smiled, rejecting the suggestion. For some reason, ever since the sword light attacked Heaven Overseeing Tower, he had been having an ominous sensation that as time passed. This ominous sensation intensified. Even after seeing the repaired Heaven Overseeing Tower, he did not feel this ominous sensation going away. Go. He willed. In his hand, Fate Gu turned into a mystical light, entering the top of the tower, towards the formation core. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord moved his aged body as he slowly walked up the stairs. Every step he took expended rank 8 immortal essence. The tower walls were shining in bright light. They appeared to be in a mess and did not give any hints or advice. But Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord did not mind it. Fate Immortal Goo could only use half of its might. Half of the images displayed were blurry or dark. After walking for 60 steps, the image on the wall became cleared on the nameless peak of southern border. The scene was depicted vividly in front of Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord. In the image, Martial Duel Heavenly King and the mysterious rank 7 Goo Immortals fight entered Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's vision. This old man frowned unconsciously. Rank 8 Great Strength True Martial Immortal Zombie. Immortal Goo House Graceful Chaotic Duel Stage. And this. On the mysterious rank 7 Goo Immortal's forehead, the red lotus mark was very bright red and striking. An inheritor of Red Lotus True Inheritance. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's eyes flashed with sharpness. The pain that Red Lotus Demon Venerable brought to Heavenly Court and the damage he dealt to Fate Immortal Goo had tormented generations after generations of Heavenly Court Goo Immortals for over 1,000,000 years. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord stopped on this step, thinking deeply. Red Lotus True Inheritance. It has to be destroyed. No traces must be left behind. The Great Strength True Martial Immortal Zombie is less of a concern, but that graceful chaotic duel stage should belong to Heavenly Court ideally. Even if Southern Border has the regional wall, Heavenly Court has to make an attempt now. Just that mystical immortal Goo House, graceful chaotic duel stage, was worth the intervention of Heavenly Court's Goo Immortals. Even though rank 8 Goo Immortals faced much difficulty in passing the 5 regions' regional walls and had to pay a huge price. Without concealing such a scene, Southern Border's Goo Immortal world would definitely be stirred up. Countless immortals would come forward to fight for it. If Heavenly Court wants to traverse regions and compete, we have to choose appropriate people, and the number has to be precise. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord thought more deeply and soon shook his head. Placing these troublesome thoughts aside, he continued to go up 60 steps, 70 steps, 80 steps. When he got to the 83rd step, the image changed again. This time, it was the scene of Central Continent, but in falling Heavenly River. Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's eyes were shut as the Heavenly Court Goo Immortal Bai Tsang Shui led the Immortals and controlled the situation single-handedly. In the image, Bai Tsang Shui smiled and spoke to Fairy Bai Qing. But after Fairy Bai Qing replied to her, Bai Tsang Shui's expression became one of deep disappointment. Soon, she concealed her expression and became calm again. She moved her fingers, setting up a Goo formation, planning to seal this place. But at this moment, starlight shot over. It penetrated the incomplete Goo formation and shot towards Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. As starlight shined brightly, Immortal Zombie Bo Qing opened his eyes. In an instant, countless flashes of sword light burst out, turning the world white. Even Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord shut his eyes in response. The next moment, he opened his eyes. What he saw was a bloody scene. There were bits and pieces of Goo Immortal corpses everywhere. The head of the Heavenly Court Goo Immortal, Bai Tsang Shui, was rolling away with streams of blood. Her eyes were opened wide. She had died. How can this be? Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, who saw this, was anguished. 3 figures landed immediately. 7 Starchild was in front, followed by Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun. Azure, you are finally awake. 7 Starchild laughed loudly. His body was emitting a powerful rank 8 aura that he walked forward, getting close to Immortal Zombie Bo Qing. Bo Qing's eyes shined with ruthlessness. Sword light shot out. 7 Starchild was shocked. He did not expect Bo Qing to attack him. The sword light was peerlessly sharp. He was sliced in half. Even his immortal zombie body was useless against it. 7 Starchild's pitiful death stunned Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun. What is going on? Envoy Azure killed Vice Envoy Blue. No, he is not Envoy Azure. His mind is filled with Heaven's will, and there is another person's remnant soul living inside his body. At once, Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun were shocked and furious. Immortal Zombie Bo Qing was expressionless. He turned around to look at them. Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun felt a strong chill. They sank into despair. They did not see any killing intent from Immortal Zombie Bo Qing's eyes. They only saw the unfeeling and impartial nature of the way of heaven. They were people who escaped from fate. They were targets of elimination of the way of heaven. An intense aura of death engulfed them. Against the famous pseudo-immortal venerable, Song Zixing and Yu Mu Chun could not escape or dodge. They could only await their deaths.